Welcome to ND and Me, a podcast to share NDers' lived experiences.
Hi, Yuri. How are you?
I'm really good, thanks. How are you, Richard?
I am okay. I'm hydrating. Um, we're doing a marathon of podcast recording because my ADHD time management is really, really good. So I kind of go like 4 months without recording an episode and then record 30 in 3 weeks. Yuri is my second today, and it's not even the afternoon yet.
Great. It sounds like we're on the same page.
It's all a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
So, um, who is Yuri?
So, good question. So, Eury is part Indigenous Indian from America. I have Blackfoot tribe and Cherokee tribe in me as part of my heritage. My mum's English. I'm dyslexic, pre-confirmed ADHD, but my children and all the people that I know, love and work with and care about believe 100% I'm ADHD, so they've diagnosed me. What else can I tell you about me? I am a dyslexic friendly champion and trainer, consultant, and run an initiative called Generate in the London Borough of Hammersmith and Fulham. And I am also an educator and have been teaching for over 25 years.
Bam. So are you London born and bred? Because your accent sounds like you might be.
I am pretty much. I've been in the London Borough of Hammersmith for over 40 years. I was actually born in Canterbury, lived a little while until I was 5 in Brighton.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bam. Um, so, dyslexia. Who, when, why? How did you end up with knowing that you were?
So, at 6, my teacher used to keep me in at playtimes. I was the only one that was kept in at playtimes, looking out of the window, feeling really fed up that everybody else was allowed out to play. And I was told to use a dictionary and rewrite my work. Don't even understand a dictionary to this day, really. Can use it just about, but yeah, it's not my favorite book. In fact, books aren't my favorite thing. But that's another story. So, having struggled through school from 6 all the way up to doing a degree in graphic design and really feeling like I'm always swimming upstream. I mean, there's a point in my degree where I'm surrounded by papers and books and just howling really and crying, thinking, I've no idea how to put a dissertation together. How is this going to ever work and succeed? I don't know how it succeeded, but apparently I have a degree in graphic design. So, yeah, really hard. So, in my 30s, I went to work. I worked for a community centre for a long time, which actually now hosts Generate in the broadest sense of the word. In other words, I put their address on our address for Generate. That's what I mean by host. So, yeah, fast forward to my 30s, having, found work a struggle as well. I found a really interesting leaflet that said there was a course running at Hillcroft College for Women called Wonderfully Different. Now, anything with that wording is definitely going to get my attention. And so that was for people who are or think they might be dyslexic. Absolutely transformed my life. The trainer there was an absolute legend, totally qualified. But yeah, she helped me flip my dyslexic script. All of a sudden, I'm in a room with people that I don't need to explain myself to, understand exactly what's happening, is sharing their stories. We're all nodding, we're all vibing. And then she helps us understand the skills that we need in order to make our lives much more easy. And also, to understand that actually that comes with a whole lot of strengths that other people don't have. Boom, absolutely blew my mind. So at that point, on leaving that it was all weekend, and I hugged her and I said, I swear I'm gonna share this with everybody who will listen and anybody who won't listen as well. So that's been my mission since I was 30. So that's 24 years ago. So 24 years on. Generate is now a multi-award-winning organisation or initiative. I got the award for Excellent Educator. Generate got the Founders Award for the work we're doing to promote dyslexic awareness. So we run training. In fact, we've got training on the 12th of October, running for Black History Month and Dyslexic Awareness Month, and to celebrate our achievements. So that's free. We're funded by Hammersmith United Charities for that training. So that's fantastic to be able to offer that for free because we've been self-funding that. Yeah, so that's a bit about the dyslexia. What else can I tell you?
Talk to me more about Generate. So when did you get the brainchild? How has that become the organisation it is today?
So I was on the Wonderfully Different training in 2007, and so I embedded that in my teaching, so all the people I teach benefit from that. And then it just seemed like that was going to be a very long and slow process. So I met somebody amazing called Kimber, and we sat down, and he became a partner and helped me create Generate. So in 2017, we sat down, had some amazing conversations, and we built Generate. And it's evolved really. A few years in, we were beginning to say this really needs to be not just have dyslexia embedded in it, but it needs to be a dyslexia organisation. It needs to be a dyslexia initiative. So we started doing that. He is a musician and a producer. He's a silent partner. And so I really have been the driving force for that. So yeah, we launched in 2013. We had a little training budget from Hammersmith United Charities. And so we co-produced a music production course with the dyslexia stuff embedded. That went really well. An artist actually, off the back of that, created an exhibition that Urban Partnership Group, the Masborough Centre hosted. So that was really fun. But we really wanted it to do more and be more, and we weren't quite sure. So lots of backwards and forwards. During that time, I started coaching. So lots of my students were needing a little bit more out of their educational experience. A lot of students that I was meeting had educational trauma because of their dyslexia. So really sharing those skills in a more intimate way to do with their passion and their missions and their goals and what they wanted to do. So I helped someone publish a dyslexic friendly book some years ago called Black Boys Can't Fly. Helped design the cover of that along with her son. So that was amazing. And again, that's a story that is meant to inspire people to go and above and beyond. Brilliant writer, Marcel Rougeard. So again, I was like, I know I can do more, which is maybe my ADHD brain rather than my dyslexic brain, saying, come on, let's look for other opportunities. So went to the School of Social Entrepreneurs, did some training with them, still wasn't really quite there. So looked at building some training, did a few pilots just off my own back, really wanted to still push it further. So join Agents for Change, which Imperial and Hammersmith United Charities, as well as Hammersmith and Fulham Council, back. This is an initiative for women in the community to become community leaders. So they give training as well. And for the first time, I was in a room full of women that all wanted a similar thing for themselves and for Hammersmith and Fulham. So through that and their support, I built the training, and they offer us a space called the Invention Rooms at White City, which is in West London, which is in Hammersmith and Fulham. And we run training out of there. So since I graduated last year, from there, I've been running training. And then I met an amazing woman called Nushin Pascal. She's a mental health first aid instructor. And I went to her mental health first aid 2-day course and was blown away by what she was doing. And I was like, well, if I need this as a dyslexic person to mitigate all the challenges I experience, I think everybody needs this. So rather than just doing dyslexic friendly training and working business to business to get this training out there, I decided to take her on board, and now that's integrated into our training. So now it's at the point where we have dyslexic friendly training, and we have mental health first aid co-production course. So we offer all our trainees a half-day course for mental health first aid, but also embed mental health awareness in the course. So for instance, this morning I was out with her in a meeting talking to a local boat club. So they're called Hammersmith Reach Boat Club, I think. And they offer affordable and accessible boating for the community. Sometimes it's completely free because they're also a charity. So understanding that mental health is really important, and that also as dyslexic people, we're often more physical, especially if we have co-occurrence of ADHD, that this helps people come together. It helps us do something that's fun, good for our health. And so therefore, we were really excited to talk to them. So we're hoping to partner. We're going to partner with them in 2024 to put on some events as well.
There's my tome for mental health first aid.
Excellent. Good for you.
That's from the 2-day course that I ran, I was in during COVID.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because Nushin and I were unfortunately the subject to an attack this week, and had we not had the mental health first aid, I don't think we'd have been recovered. And we're still recovering. It's a long process, but because she's an instructor and I'm a first aider, we've really been able to support each other. We understand that going out, walking, talking, doing self-care rituals, eating well, keeping hydrated, like you said on the beginning of the call, Richard, is really, really important. But it becomes even more essential when you have the stresses of neurodiversity. Because as we know, we don't live in a neurodiversely friendly world. So if you're going to work, that's going to be a challenge. Sometimes even if you're traveling, as all my friends know, I get lost on a regular basis, or I'm late because I read the time wrong.
Or you're massively early because you saw a notification and clicked it because you thought you were late.
Oh, massively early, yeah. Absolutely. So these barriers, these stresses really take a toll on us, and the recovery can be long-term and huge. So being able to manage that as we go along with training like mental health first aid is huge. So that's been hugely beneficial. So really there's 2 major transformations in my life. The first transformation being understanding what dyslexia is and how I can mitigate that using specific techniques. So on the training, we call them the 4 dyslexic friendly powers, harnessing the 4 dyslexic friendly powers, and then the addition to mental health first aid, keeping yourself well in the process of that.
An attack. Are you comfortable sharing more, or?
I can do. So I'm not a driver. Nushin has a lovely little red Mini, and we were just driving down our local high street, and someone on a skateboard zoomed out in front of her. So she beeped them to kind of alert them that they almost died. And the gentleman, clearly suffering from mental ill health, got his skateboard and smashed the driver's side window, covering us both with glass. Whoa. And then we subsequently blocked that whole high street for an hour. Yeah, waiting for ambulance and police. The ambulance crew were amazing. They were there really quickly, but unfortunately the police didn't turn up. So we had to get members of the public. There was an off-duty police officer, PC Lang, big up to you, amazing, helped. You know, he was just cycling past and he stopped and calmed the crowds, and yeah, it was amazing. Ambulance crew were fabulous. Yeah, we're still not sure why the police make the excuse. We were really busy. So
but ambulance crews weren't.
Yeah. I mean, it meant the ambulance crew were there for an exorbitant amount of time when they could have been doing other things. They could have dropped us to the hospital, you know, and been supporting and helping other people. So yeah, that was really unfortunate.
And do you think that's tied to the police's new line on not attending mental health crises?
Very possibly. We've been given really conflicting information about what the categories of attendance are. So one piece of information that we received via email says that it was high on their agenda, but all the conversations we have has said, no, you weren't higher on the agenda. Don't know if it's because we're women, just not really sure what's happening, and we haven't really had any answers. So watch this space. But people in the community, I've got to say, I do kickboxing. My kickboxing instructor, weirdly, is very local to that high street, and happened to be walking back to his wellbeing centre, Health Defence Wellbeing Centre, and he was on hand to help as well. My son came along, he helped. Nushin's dad came, he helped, and it was like the Nando's in Hammersmith. If you ever go there, the staff are amazing. Leyland paint shop in Hammersmith, amazing people, all really helped keep the situation calm, and just, you know, did road traffic directions for buses to get past and all sorts. It was really amazing. As much as Nushin and I still are holding that trauma and recovering, we also know how lucky we are to live in an environment where there's a really big community and people come out to support, you know.
Yeah. Cool as in thanks for sharing, not cool as in this really traumatic thing happened.
Cool, I'm glad you were attacked. Yeah, great.
Oh dear. You know, I don't know if it's a difference thing or a Richard quirk, but or just a man thing. The amount of times that I've spoken to people and it's like, well, I had this conversation with him and he was just like, he didn't know what to say, or he didn't say anything, or he said something that was like completely not what I wanted him to say. And I was like, well, yeah, I'm not good at dealing with emotions and tough stuff.
I think my son would definitely say it's a man thing. You're not made for that. He believes 100% men are not made for that. Forget it. Don't even ask us. We're meant to be really strong and powerful, and we're meant to be the ones that kind of hold the fort. I'm like, okay, I'm not sure I believe that. I've met loads of really sensitive men But it takes all kinds to make the world go round. So for me, on that point about building a community and building a network, if I need emotional support and sensitivity and really emotional connection, I might not necessarily go to him, although if he's the only one there, he's going to have to provide it. It's like, oh, this is long. But, you know, I'll go to other men or other women that are well versed and comfortable in that. And I think that's okay. You know, we're all different. We've all got, like, as I was saying earlier about talents, we all have our own talents. And if that's not part of who you are and what you are, just being upfront with people and saying, look, you know, like I'm really like this, but maybe if you've got that going on, I'm not your guy. It's okay. It's like, if you want a 5,000 word essay by tonight, I'm not your girl. I'm not the one that's going to be able to produce that.
GPT-4 might be though.
Yeah, but then it's not don't get me wrong, really enjoying using that. I've had lots of arguments with lots of people about, you know, oh yeah, the overuse, and you know, it's a skill. It's a skill to use a tool like that. But yeah, I might not be the person that's best versed to do that for you. You know, I've written articles, I've passed degrees, I'm a qualified teacher, so I had to write 2 very in-depth portfolios at a time where ChatGTP wasn't available. So I can do it, but it takes a lot out of me.
Yeah.
You know, it's not my natural. Yeah. You want me to talk, you want me to give a keynote speech, you want me to deliver a story. So I was recently, during the summer, Imperial and all the organisations on Exhibition Road in Kensington closed down Exhibition Road, and there's a festival there. So I was reading my dyslexic story for that festival as part of Imperial and at the V&A. And, you know, that's great. I can do that. That's part of my skill base.
Yeah. So is that one of your 4 dyslexic powers?
It's part of one of the 4 dyslexic powers, yeah, for sure. So orating and using your voice and creativity is definitely part of our powerhouse. You know, and if you look at, we showcase a Hall of Fame, a Dyslexia Hall of Fame. We have one specifically for community and Black History Month, and for stars that you would know, like the boxer Ali, Muhammad Ali, people like him, actresses like Whoopi Goldberg, you know, amazing, talented people. But again, these people are not that they can't write books, but they're more physically versed, they're more creatively versed. And that's what we see. We see, if you look at the stats, you see people in the arts, there's many more. So 1 in 5 people are dyslexic that know they're dyslexic, that have been assessed. There's 90% of dyslexics don't know they're dyslexic. So you see the increase in the creative fields go up exponentially. So, you know, the stats there are much higher. You know, MIT, for instance, they really, so I can't remember what MIT stands for the...
It's Michigan Institute of Technology.
Thank you, because that's what happens.
No, not
my brain shuts down and then I can't remember.
Massachusetts, not.
Oh, okay, there we go.
Yeah, because it's in Cambridge. So it's in Cambridge, Mass. So it's Massachusetts Institute of Tech.
Amazing. See, wealth of information. Well done, Richard.
Well, you know, it's like a sponge. It just holds on to random shit.
Whereas my sponge it keeps doing that, and it keeps squeezing all the information back out again.
well, the problem is you're right. It can get saturated with bullshit, and not actually retain useful, pertinent information like remembering to pay your bills, or
Yes, I do know that.
the tonnage of ham that was lost when the Titanic sank. Just it's just. Or the fact that there's conflicting stories over the ship's cat, because some people think that the ship got off the cat got off the ship on the day of sailing, so it didn't die with the ship, and that there's some superstition about a ship not having a cat, and that might have been a bad omen, or maybe
the cat was like, don't trust this workmanship, I'm off.
Unsinkable? I don't think so. I'm not going to risk that.
They should have dyslexic people. They'll have sorted that out.
Well, yeah.
MIT definitely, and NASA would definitely agree with that. One in two people at NASA are dyslexic.
I think the maths was good. I think the hyperbole was bad. And actually, if it had not scraped as bad as it had scraped, then it might have survived. But you are completely right. And that the conversation of creativity and neurodivergence is also bigger than just dyslexia. So look at how many look at how many comedians have ADHD.
Yeah.
Like all of them.
Absolutely. Yeah, I found out I'm definitely not a comedian. So I decided a couple of years ago to I really like pushing my own boundaries. And so I decided the opportunity came up to take a course, 6-week course, just a small course to do comedy. And I knew that I was never going to become a comedian. That's not my thing. But I just wanted to add something to my skill as a teacher that lifted it out of the norm. I could a little bit lighter, a little bit more funny. Oh my God, it's so hard.
So you were doing improv, or you were doing stand-up, or?
Stand-up, yeah. Right. So we write a script and then you deliver it. Like, managed to do the introduction. So I was up there for about all of maybe a minute. Yeah, walk. Yeah, thanks. Can't remember the rest of the script. I'm not. Thanks for coming and listening, and walk straight back off.
You see, I think people can be funny without needing to be
scripted,
a comedian, or scripted, or trained. So, growing up, my mates were like, "You're really funny, but you're only really funny 4 times a year. The rest of the year, you're just chatting shit. But every now and again, you'll say something that is so funny, it's actually funny." So I was like,
"We have to catch you at those times, then, Richard."
No, you have to hang out with me all year round, and then be like peppered with. It's like having a kid. It's terrible, terrible, terrible. Something amazing happens. Terrible, terrible, terrible.
My kids think they're amazing. They're all grown up now, but they think they're amazing. Don't tell them that.
All children are amazing in their own unique and particular way. But what they don't realize is all of the stress, strain, arduous nature of raising a child that, is the other side of the scale.
And it's very heavy.
Getting your kid to like make you like a ribbon for like best parent. that overcomes, being woken up at 2 o'clock in the morning because the kid's thrown up in your ear because they weren't very well and they were co-sleeping. It's a balance. When your teenage kids are not very nice to you, then it starts to go the other way, because then they're in control of how they interact with you. I do love my kids. One of their teacher's assistants pulled us aside one morning. "So your kids are so very well behaved." I was like, "They're not at home." And they said, "Well, where would you rather them then be ill behaved?" At least they've got the psychological safety at home to be themselves. Know where the boundaries are, push the boundaries, find the boundaries, but then have enough respect when they're out and about to not get into fights and not back chat, and
Yeah, definitely. So do you think being neurodivergent helps you be a better parent?
No, it makes being a parent much, much, much harder.
Yeah,
Much harder.
interesting.
I pride myself on being responsive, being able to problem solve.
Yeah,
And that creativity and impulsivity and speed to react is definitely from being neuroatypical.
yeah,
And sometimes when that involves kids, it's really, really helpful. Like
yeah,
a kid's just fallen down the stairs, they need to go to A&E right now.
yeah,
Okay, I can manage that, I can process that. I'm not going to get emotionally overwhelmed by that.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, executive dysfunction, emotional regulation.
yeah.
When it's 4 o'clock in the morning and you've got 4 kids and 3 of them are screaming, sometimes there's a point of sensory overload where you've just had enough. So no, neurodiversity does not make raising children easier.
It's a short answer, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
and the amount of times in my
Your
life,
children neurodivergent?
none of them have a diagnosis.
Yeah.
And I've tried to keep it that way because there's a lot of stigma and stereotype around labels.
Yeah.
Those who need support are getting support.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't need to put you through a diagnostic process, and you don't need a label. If you struggle with something, ask for help, and we'll find out what you're struggling with and help with it.
That's great.
So I think my youngest is dyslexic. She's not very good with spatial awareness. She writes D's as P's and G's as D's and B's and P's and G's the wrong way around.
Yeah.
I used to get white and yellow confused. I was like, go stand on the white line. And I was like, where? Oh, that's a yellow line. And yeah, all kinds of weird
We're
stuff.
all so quirky, aren't we? I love it.
Well, the other thing is that they changed like childhood sight screen. So she didn't actually get her eyes tested until she was nearly 6. So she hadn't read. So the school originally put it down to, she didn't really read in reception and half of year 1 because we didn't test her eyesight until she was 6. So the reason why she's behind on all of her language and writing is because she can't see. And I'm like, okay. But now she's 12.
Yeah.
Surely she would have caught up because she's had 6 years to catch up. There's still some quirks there. And I'm like, she really doesn't enjoy reading, but she loves video content. Maybe she doesn't like reading because she really struggles to read.
Yeah. There's an amazing bookshop up in Bristol that a guy that I met at the Dyslexia Awards. He's really he's also a double award winner because he's not only a writer, but he runs this amazing bookshop and he's getting people to publish books for young people as well as adults that are dyslexic friendly. Powerhouse. So that might help her. My daughter started reading books. She's definitely dyslexic, maybe even more so than I am. Loves comics. So as soon as she was allowed to read inappropriate comics, that was it. She was off.
Graphic novels.
Yeah. Yeah. She'd be like, they're not comics. What? Adult things. Yeah, those.
So both of my girls are really arty, so they'll draw like manga.
Wow.
Which is quite cool. But
yeah, it's super cool.
A quirk that my brain just went sideways on. Down to I don't often hear, or is it? No, that is right. So, do you know why we say up and down to a place?
No, because I've got no geographic awareness. I think it's something to do with whether you go up the country or down the country. But that doesn't really make sense. I think they think,
everybody in London goes down to somewhere.
Yeah.
But everybody going to London goes up to London.
Oh yeah. See, that's why I don't understand it. Yeah.
So trains have an up line and a down line, and the terminus station, you always go up to the terminus or down from the terminus. So because London is the heart of England,
yeah,
all of the trains go down on the down line away from the terminus of London to their location. So maybe if you're in the north of England, you might say down to London because you're traveling down the country.
Yeah.
But the vast majority of people in London say down to somewhere.
Yeah.
Because the train goes on the down line down to wherever.
Fantastic.
So I was like, down to Bristol. But hang on, isn't Bristol like the same latitude as London, if not a bit higher? Ooh. Well, especially from Hammersmith as well. That's just interesting. And then, getting into trains, because I'm a little bit into trains. I'm turning around to look at train stuff, but I've put it all away. It's all up there in a big box.
Oh, okay.
No, I do model railway stuff. Like, here's a baseboard that I'm working on. Ta-da!
Nice.
That's going to be a modular model railway based on a village station where I grew up.
Where did you grow up?
Between Cambridge and Newmarket, on the edge of the Fens, which is
nice.
the marshy, boggy land south of the Wash. And loads of kids don't know the history of the area.
Yeah.
And basically, the Isle of Ely, so Ely Cathedral, is on an island, which was the only island in the Fens. So, 1400, it would be marshland, except for this pinnacle of an island with a massive cathedral being built on top of it.
That's so mental, isn't it?
Which is quite cool. And then, just north of Cambridge, you've got Waterbeach, Land Beach, Reach, which are all like coastal villages.
Yeah.
And you realise that you're 50 miles away from the sea. Well, but how? Well, because when we travelled by boats, you could take a boat all the way to like land. Well, a seagoing ship all the way to Land Beach.
Yeah.
Before you needed to get off the boat.
Yeah.
Even though rivers are navigable now, so you can get from Cambridge to the seaside in a day. But it's really weird. Like, so, why have we got all of these places called Whiz Beach?
Yeah.
Why do we have all these beach names? In and around Cambridge, and it's like, well, because before they drained all of this, it was underwater, and that's why the Fens are so flat, and the soil so like silty, is because it was all underwater.
Wow.
Lots and lots and lots of it was underwater.
Lots of historical knowledge. It's funny, we went on we're as a business, we're collaborating with lots of different spaces and places in Hammersmith and Fulham, and one of the people we're collaborating with is a walker that does these amazing historical and knowledgeable walks. So I've as I said, I've been living here for a long time, and we went to a place in Hammersmith and Fulham called Acton, and it's kind of like, it's got a bit of White City in it, it's got a bit of Old Oak. So we walked around there, and she spoke about the reason things are named the way they are and what they used to be. It's just absolutely fascinating. And of course, that's part of our outreach work that we do, getting people involved in mental health first aid activities. So that historical information also gets people to talk and discuss, which is part of the education and part that I'm also engaged with, especially with people with English as a second language. And then, the intersectionality that we're really seeing come to fore in the news, and especially on social media, that, you know, if you've got English as a second language, if you've got mental health issues, especially like if you're, that we read a statistics recently that if you are feeling isolated, that's equivalent to smoke, as bad for your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
Yeah.
So this is the idea. And then if you've got dyslexia or ADHD or both of those things on top of that, the effects of that and how important it is to get out into nature, go for a walk, and especially if you've got a guided walk, because then that somehow takes the emphasis off you. Also, that means that it's predetermined, somebody's organized it. I say all you've got to do is turn up. Not always the easiest thing to do.
All you got to do is turn up and walk.
Yeah. So you've got to remember where to go, where to meet, what time to meet. So there is, you know, it's not, but if you've got a buddy that you can take with you, and that's the point. We meet at somewhere familiar to the groups, and then we walk from there. So that's exciting. That's coming up in 2024.
And the website Walk for Life has community generated walks. So you could just go on there and say, okay, well, I live in this village. And it can show you what everybody in the surrounding area has done, like plotted walks out. So
wow.
I used to be a cub leader, so looking after 8 to 10-year-old kids.
Nice.
And we'd put our hikes on there, so all of the parents could see where the hike was, what the dangers were, how far it was, how long it might take, and then walk it themselves if they cared. And dog walkers put their favourite routes on there and this other stuff. So you could have almost a guided walk, but at your own pace.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I'm gonna share that with the walker, because she's absolutely amazing. Her name's Joanna, and you know we're collaborating with her and Royal College of Art, which is in White City. They've got a college campus there in White City now. So exciting stuff. Yeah, no, thanks for that. I love those joined up thinking moments that us dyslexics are so good at.
So what I've done is around my village, there's like 6 routes because I've plotted all of my routes. So there is a mile route from my front door to the post box 40 meters down the road. So that's about as close to a mile as I could get.
Yeah.
So I think we're down to 17 minutes 40 walking that mile.
Wow.
So that's 3.5 miles an hour. It's not bad.
That's pretty good.
It'd be nice to get to 4 miles now. But
it's so important, isn't it? If you're working, that's what I found in lockdown. If you're working during the day and you're working from home, which I can see you often, you know, you clearly are doing, as me and Nushin do, it's so important to get out during the day. So we were saying we're going to work until 2. We're going to go out for a little while. Then she's got some errands to run, and then we'll start work again. So yeah, it's so important to get out.
The beauty is that mile of mine goes past the shop.
Nice.
So yeah, if we need to pop to the shop for, you know, washing up or toilet roll
or a Scooby snack. Yeah, exactly.
Then we've earned it because we've walked a mile.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, Nushin lives almost next door to the pub, so we have to promise to. So she lives on the River Thames, which is beautiful. So we have to promise to walk a little bit before we end up at the pub.
Yeah, my mile also goes past.
Yeah,
the pub, the butchers, and the dentist. So yeah, the one reason why we moved here is because this village has everything.
Fantastic.
Although the butchers is now shut down, but you know it's got a nursery, primary school, secondary school, 6th form, doctor, dentist, post office, corner shop, pub. Had a butcher just recently shut. They're going to put a delicatessen cafe in there. Duck pond, rec field.
Fantastic.
So
that's so important, isn't it? So many.
Well, the kids can walk to school.
Lovely.
It's just, you know, you can go and do 1.5 miles a day walking to and from school because it's the other end of the village. And that's your 20 minutes, half an hour's worth of exercise every day, because
Yeah, that's
you
fantastic.
need to get out there and do some exercise. And for me, I walked a quarter of a mile and then sat on a bus. And then I didn't really play sports at school. And then I got the bus home and I walked a quarter of a mile home. So my exercise as a kid was very limited.
Yeah.
But computers weren't a big thing, so I was on my bike. So
Yeah.
I've got calves like Tarzan. But yeah.
I'm a cyclist. I definitely don't have calves like Tyson.
Tyson or Tarzan.
Tarzan or Tyson, yeah. Unfortunately not. I think the kickboxing was kicking in there, and I was like, Tyson, yeah.
Yeah. So what got you into kickboxing then? Is that I need to exercise and it needs to be fun?
So when my children were little, I spent quite a lot of time, now what I realise from ADHD, shouting at them. They're both neurodiverse. My son's in the closet still, but so don't tell him I told you that. So spent a lot of time kind of shouting at them and trying to get them to behave. And then my doctor was like, that's not good for you or them. You need something that's going to keep you on a more even keel. And I'm not one for medication. So he was like, well, try some impact sports. And I was like, what's impact sports? What are you talking about? And he was like, oh, you can play rugby. Blah. And I was like, rugby? I don't think so. I'm not a runner. I'm definitely, my body is not made for stealth. It's just not fast at all, not even on a bike anymore. So then I went to the community centre, which I worked for, and the Masborough Centre for many years, and met Max, who runs Health Defence. He's a kickboxer, ex-professional boxer, and he was working there, and I'd never really thought about it. And he was like, you look a bit sad. And I was like, he's great. He's like, I think, if someone hadn't come up with mental health first aid, he should have come up with it, really, because he's such a community, compassionate, empathetic person. And he was asking me what was wrong, and I was telling him, and he said, well, why don't you try kickboxing? You can bring the kids. And I thought, oh, this is going to work wonders. Not only do I
get to legally kick my kids.
Yeah, fantastic. So yeah, I did it with my children for 5 years. My son now runs his business out of there. And Max got him kind of that space, helped him start with that. So he runs a company called P&P Fitness. And basically, I started kickboxing with him, did that for 5 years. It means both my children are really confident, gave me confidence. And then it kind of just trailed off. You get busy with life and what have you. But I got really ill must be about 6 years ago now. I lost all sense of time since lockdown, and got chronic fatigue. Something that I've been suffering with but hadn't realised for quite a few years. Kind of part burnout, but also just unable to recover. Like lots of brain fog, part neurodivergent. And so was floored for 8 months. And just my health and my vitality and my ability to maintain any kind of exercise was at an all-time low. And he's such a beautiful person, because I bumped into him and he was like, well, come back. And I was like, I can't, because I can't do anything really. And he said, well, let's start with you just maybe putting on some gloves and doing some stretches. And I was like, okay, it sounds really boring, but okay. And just, slowly building it up over months and months and months. Occasionally I have like a little bit of time off because I'm not feeling well. And he's just brilliant. And now I can do an hour and a half, pretty much, kicking and punching, and and it's amazing. It's amazing for your mental health. It's amazing for your fitness. And also, you just don't think about it. like all the stresses of the recent attack has, you know, really helps build that positive energy in you, makes you feel like you can face the day. So yeah, it's amazing.
So are you still blighted by chronic fatigue, or is it kind of managed?
It's managed, but yeah, I definitely do have blips, what I call blips. So you have, like, I have to do a what I call a health check-in. So did I sleep? Am I eating properly? Was I able to get out of bed when my alarm went off? Things like this, you know, am I able to focus? Like, for instance, I keep losing my keys, and that's a real sign of something's not quite right. And I'm not sure if it's because of the attack and I'm still recovering from that, or it's a, you know, a blip in the chronic fatigue kind of. So I'm really watching it and being really mindful. And again, mental health first aid, going for walks, keeping hydrated, taking things a lot slower, taking more rests. So one thing I advocate hugely in the training is that using the Pomodoro technique. I don't know if you know it.
Yeah.
So we've adjusted it slightly in Generate when I do the coaching with people. So we suggest half an hour and 15 minutes. So you do half an hour focused work, especially if it's whatever you find most challenging. That'll be reading and writing for me. And then 15 minutes non-challenging. That'll be love highlighting. So love organizing, love that. So organizing, maybe looking at a to-do list, checking off stuff, things like that. So you're still working, but you're working in a different way.
Yeah.
Also, if you've got work that you can still maintain, but walking around, love that. So I've got, I say I've got a standing desk. Basically, I've got a stack of paper that I put my laptop on top of. So do that a lot, standing up and sitting down, moving around. And it really makes a difference. And I can work for 3 hours really productively and then take an hour off. And you can do 3 sessions like that in a day, long as you take an hour off in between.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to build up to it, so you have to test it. So I get people to time themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to Tanya the other day, and she's got a tall desk and a treadmill.
Yeah,
so she
fantastic.
can walk and work,
Yeah.
Which is quite cool. I'm a big fan of walking meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing how much you don't have to worry about confidentiality when there's nobody else around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, yeah,
Quiet, 'cause the walls are thin.
yeah, we do walking coaching, because a lot of what we do is we walk and then we sit and do some practical coaching stuff. So that's really helpful, especially if you've got ADHD. You know, you don't want to be sitting down discussing stuff. And also for processing, walking and movement is known. I don't know if you know about the Steiner schools and stuff like that. They're very hugely into this idea that activity, Montessori as well to a certain extent, really into the idea that moving around and activity helps brain function. So
absolutely. So talk to me about your educator stuff. So
my excellent educator stuff, now I've been named by the Dyslexia Awards. So I started off as an early years educator, did early years training, then decided that wasn't really for me, so went off and did a degree in graphic design. And then an amazing guy called Stephen, I was working as a volunteer, because I'm that old. We didn't have computers when I did my degree, so they just came in as I'm finished my degree. So it's really hilarious. So I had to retrain as soon as I got my degree. I had to retrain and learned how to properly use a computer and learn HTML. And he just saw something in me that said, actually, I think you'd be a really good teacher. You're really patient with people. And I think it's because of my learning style. I need people to be really patient with me, and therefore I'm really patient with them. So he put me on my first teacher training course, and a year later I was teaching Illustrator and Photoshop for a private college up in Notting Hill Gate. Big up Zed, who took me on there and gave me a job and gave me my start. I mean, if anybody out there is a trainee teacher or is a new teacher, you're just horrible for the first 2 years. It's hilarious. I thought I was killing it. Kind of like I thought in my 20s, I just knew everything, you know. So that's where I started and really have worked in Goldsmiths with the Open Door Project, who work with people who have history of substance misuse or have been let out of prison or even on day release from prison, in fact, to get back into education. So I volunteered with them for a year, running training with them, helping two people, especially one that I'm still in contact with called Mike, who runs Job Ready English, amazing, absolute legend of a guy. So yeah, did that for a year. So I've worked, you know, from universities, and now I'm working in Hammersmith and Fulham with people with learning disabilities and physical disabilities, teaching them English and IT, which I absolutely love. I was teaching for Urban Partnership Group, so I just recently left there as a teacher, was teaching there for 22 years, teaching people in the community. Yeah. So I love it. I mean, it's part of my talent because I'm good at talking and because I understand how to be patient and how to make a classroom inclusive, because I know that it's so important for me. I think that really, really is a testament to itself, really.
So you're teaching non-native speakers English?
I was at Urban Partnership Group, so I was teaching people with English as a second language there, doing lots of fun things like collaborating with the Royal College of Art, walking, that kind of thing, but also lots of classroom stuff.
Cool. So we're approaching the hour, and this is normally where we have a conversation about something that you're passionate about. So, you know, if there was one thing that you wanted to talk about during this podcast, if we haven't spoken about it, now's the time to bring it up.
Okay, so it's generating my mission to make Hammersmith and Fulham dyslexic friendly, and what that would look like is businesses and the council and organisations and educators in Hammersmith and Fulham taking on a dyslexic friendly approach and taking on the 4 dyslexic friendly powers. That's where my passion lies. And also, as I said, embedding mental health first aid in the NHS. There's this great new way that GP services in the NHS are working as social prescribers. And so it's really about them taking on mental health first aid and offering that to people who have low level mental health challenges going on in their lives, you know, and especially those of us who are neurodiverse, because we have that added pressure of living in a neurotypical world. And that's what I'm trying to really get people and businesses to understand, that actually, this isn't rocket science, this isn't anything difficult, but it is a change of culture. So for instance, if you have a photocopier or a printer, change the colour of your photocopy paper from white to a pastel colour. It's that simple. Very tiny incremental cost increase, huge benefits. And what you'll see is the same thing I see in the classroom, with whether you're neurodiverse or neurotypical, which means whether you've got dyslexia or a specific learning style or not, they'll want to use the coloured paper because it makes it easier to read. This means that you'll reduce eye fatigue, you won't be as exhausted if you're reading documentation. And guess what? If you do that on a screen, it's free. It doesn't cost you anything. But trying to help people understand that if you've got a PowerPoint presentation, for instance, you change the standard of black and white to a pastel coloured background, this is going to have a huge impact. So you're going to have a 20% increase of people being able to engage in your content. Why wouldn't you want that? 1 in 5 people in that room is neurodiverse, is dyslexic. So they cannot access, as well as the rest of the people in that room, your content. So you're negating yourself, you're reducing your profitability, you're reducing your ability to market to those people. For me, it's a no-brainer.
Did you want to talk about the 4 dyslexic friendly powers and how an organization can be more dyslexic friendly?
So an organization can be more dyslexic friendly, first and foremost, by using color. So this means changing your PowerPoint presentations, anything that you print on a pastel colored paper. Also, it means using a different font. If you use a dyslexic font, that is highly ideal. But if not, use a sans serif font, something like Arial, Calibri, or Verdana. Increase the size of your font. Anything above 12 is good, but 14 is ideal. What was the other thing I wanted to say about font, color, size? There might be something else, but anyway. So that's one thing you can do. Another thing is by harnessing your people power. So if you know that 1 in 5 people that you work with or you teach are dyslexic, then getting them on board, harnessing their skills, harnessing their talents, and it's called a strength-based approach, is really, really important. So accepting that neurodiverse people come with this whole range of skills that if you don't capitalize on, if you don't harness, you're missing out, actually. This is a huge input to your business, huge input to your classroom. They can really make a classroom a live and dynamic place to learn. So it's really important. Another one of the powers is using the power of daylight. So you might see now, I'm sitting with this glowy daylight and I've got a bit of a weird color to me. That's because I'm here with a daylight light bulb. It's hugely important to use daylight. Move your desk to a window so that the window is shining over your shoulder onto your device. Woo-hoo!
Daylight.
Amazing.
But it's not bright enough, so I've got a ring light as well. So I've got like little circles in my eyes. But this ring light is also white light balanced. So on the bright setting, it is effectively the same Kelvin rating as daylight. But
that's amazing. Yeah. So that's brilliant. And what you find is when you're using daylight, again, it reduces eye fatigue, means you can focus, means that because the tungsten light, which is a normal light bulb, gives out 30 degrees spectrum of light. So your eyes basically are having to make up 70%. And that's a lot of work for your eyes to do. So that's not a neurodivergent thing. That's an everybody thing. It's just a light thing.
So that's my desk inside has a daylight bulb above the desk. And I can work 12 or 14 hours without getting tired because your brain is like, it's light. You should be paying attention. And then you turn it off and immediately fall asleep because
especially if you've got ADHD.
Yeah, it's amazing how many people like complain of sleep problems with ADHD. My problem isn't sleep. My problem is going to sleep at the right time. The amount of times that I've like missed movies or computer games or it's like, this is just so boring. I'm shut down because there's nothing happening.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, routine is hugely important. I wrote a piece about sleep hygiene because I saw how important this was to me and how important this was to the people around me that I was working with. So that's one of the giveaways that we give away on the training. You know, anybody who asks for it, we just print it out or email it to them so that they've got that. Obviously, assistive tech. So now ChatGTP is or whatever the acronym is. I always get the.
That's fine.
Yeah, we know what we're talking about, right? But I was talking to someone online recently about Microsoft. You know, they've got some really simple assistive tech built in that you don't have to pay for. So if you use Microsoft, it's there. For instance, Speak, you can activate it yourself and it will read to you. Who would have passed any of their coursework? Not me, if that hadn't been available. Because if you know anybody who's dyslexic or you're dyslexic yourself, you know that to you that word looks like it's spelt correctly, and it is spelt correctly, but it's not the right word. So it has to be read back to you for you to be able to say, that's not what I meant. So then you can correct it. So it's amazing. And also, if people send you stuff, then you can copy and paste it into Word and it can read it to you. But of course, there's loads of packages of assistive technology you can get now. So, of course, I'm a huge advocate of that as well. The other part of the colour thing that I wanted to say is about organisation. I don't know how your organisation is, Richard. You any good?
So I know for a fact that I'm not very good. And because of
Who
that,
told you that?
failed deadlines, missed exams.
Yeah.
So I am so good at organization, but only from my eyes. So for me, organization and procrastination go hand in hand. So if I'm going on a trip, I'll plan the trip so then I know exactly where I need to be when I need to be there. So I've got that plan. So I don't need to worry about it because I've already planned it. And then for my unplanned stuff, I have multiple projects on the go. So above me are 8 project boxes. So when I want to do a project, it's all there ready to go. And then when I get bored of that project, it goes back on the shelf and I get another. So the 8 in here, I haven't looked at for 2 years because I've got 9. I've got 9 inside. So, and what that means is that I can keep being productive, whilst not being bored, because I can do something for a week and then get bored of it and put it under my desk, out of sight, out of mind, get something else out, be enthused about that for a little while, get bored, put it away.
That's fantastic.
So
I highly advocate that. I think that's more of an ADHD thing about the boredom and the needing to do multiple things. So I call it a parking space. So I have parking space for ideas, but I also have parking space for projects like yourself. But the dyslexic friendly tip that I want to give people is labeling them with colors. So for instance, red is all my active stuff. So if I'm doing an active project and if it's online and it's in my site, that goes in a red box. It will be downgraded as I don't want to do it and I've got bored of it. And also, for instance, if you're organizing a space in an office, for instance, all your financial stuff should go in one folder with one color, all your creative stuff another folder, all your tools and invoices, for instance, will go in another folder. And so you don't have to think about it. You've got this color range that you've made this link with. So you can go to that folder. You don't need to read it. You don't need to think about it. You can just grab it. And that's the same with note taking for anybody who's still studying. If you have what I call a key of colors and you use a highlighter for those colors, then that makes your life a lot easier. Do not over highlight is my huge advice. Less is more. Kiss your content. So kiss your content as far as highlighting, and that means keep it simple and specific. So highlight only the key words, not sentences, phrases at the very outside that you might need and might be interesting. Work out your key before you start, but also when you're creating content, keep it simple and specific. Do not overproduce content that could be said. Don't say something in 5 paragraphs that could be 4 sentences. We appreciate not having to read as much, and please do that with emails. Email overload is a real thing. People will not get back to you if you overload them. 1, send them lots of emails, and 2, I've had emails where they're 15 paragraphs. I didn't sign up for reading a book or a whole article. This is meant to be an email. Just tell me what you need me to do.
Do you know, I read somebody's LinkedIn post the other month, and then they put the TLDR at the end. And I was like, the point of a TLDR is so I don't have to read it.
Yeah.
So put the TLDR at the top,
Yeah.
so I've got the gist of it, and if I care, I'll read everything. But once I've spent 20 minutes reading, there's no point then giving me a 2-line summary. Put the summary at the top.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh.
I'm forever I'll go onto LinkedIn and I'll read something or half read it, get the gist of it, and then repost with my summary, because it's so important. Get to the point. What is it that you want people to get out of this? Put that. And then if you want to write a whole article afterwards, go for it. Knock yourself out. But we need quick, accessible answers, because otherwise we get exhausted. And then, we're not going to want to revisit your information. Another tip for emails, FYI, for your information only. I don't need to read it. Now I know I don't need to read it. I can go back and read it if I want. Maybe it's term dates, maybe it's, but I don't need to read it. It's not essential. So now I know what's essential and what isn't. And share it with your management. Share it with the people you work with. Because if they really want you to get on board, they'll use it. It might take them a while to get hold of it. It takes us all a while to be trained in anything. This is no different.
I used to work with a building surveyor who, when he came back, he's out of office when he went on holiday was, I'm going on holiday until date. If you want me, please email me after date. So he would come back in after a couple of weeks holiday with 400 emails. Select all, delete.
Yeah.
But there might be something important in there. And he was like, and if it is, they'll email me, because my out of office said, email me after date.
Yeah.
End of. He was no stress, no panic. He just put the out of office on, went on holiday, came back, deleted everything, and carried on.
Love it.
But you missed this email. No, you missed my notification saying I wasn't going to read it.
Yeah. I love that. And that's actually, I'm going to update my training with that to say.
And then the other one was he would never read a CC'd email. He'd only read emails that were sent to him. So if somebody said, "Oh, I sent you an email, can you check?" he'd go and look at it.
Yeah.
So it's a bit like FYI, but he would just blanket do it. So he would only have stuff in his inbox that was to him.
Yeah.
And then he literally took 80% of his email traffic out, because he was like, well, I'm CC'd into it. If it's that important, somebody's going to tell me. So I'm just not gonna.
Yeah. If you really need me to know, ring me and tell me. And I say this to people all the time that have meetings and stuff. I'm like, the reason my business card has got my number on it, because you should text me. If you're sending me an email, text me. I'll go and look at it. But I'm not on my emails all the time. I don't have an alert on my phone because it's too much. I get information overload and I get exhausted. So no. Like, I can remember when work said, "Oh, we need you to download Teams on your phone." I did it. Oh my God, 3 days later, I deleted it. I was like, "Oh, who's having that?" Popping up every 2 seconds to let you know that some random guy at work is doing a presentation on something that's got nothing to do with me. I don't need to know.
Cakes
So
in the
yeah,
kitchen. The amount of
yeah,
times. So Mike, when he would come back from holiday, every single time he'd come back from a holiday, just as a joke, he would check how many times that somebody had posted that there was like. So we were working for a housing society. In the head office, there was, I don't know, 150 people working there. So nearly every day it was somebody's birthday or wedding or christening,
yeah.
and there would be cake. So the amount of times there'd be an email to 150 people, cake in the kitchen. So he'd just have a tally. He'd come back from work,
Yeah.
go, cake in the kitchen, 14. Okay. 14 emails I didn't need to read. Carry on.
He's my guy. I like him. I want to have a conversation with him now.
He's
All
probably
his
retired
email
now.
tips.
But
So
yeah.
another email, some more dyslexic friendly email tips. If you can change the background of your email color, you should also do that to pastel. Somebody did send me how to do it. Can't find the email. So if you know.
Well, dark mode is a brilliant thing. You can just go
Yeah.
view dark mode.
Yeah.
And you know.
Increase the size to size 14. Use a sans serif typeface and don't use black text. So use a dark colored text so it's readable. Fantastic. Much more easy on the eye. People are much more likely to read your email. And use emojis. People think emojis are really naff. Actually, they're really helpful key indicators of what's going on.
As
So
long
you
as
can
you
also,
understand what they are.
yes, don't use some random stuff that nobody understands. No. So again, have a key.
Just make sure you know what they mean, and you know that the person you're sending it to knows what they mean, because you don't
Yeah,
want to
I
send
know.
something that might get
Common sense.
misinterpreted.
Common sense isn't as common as you'd think. So thumbs up means good. Yeah. So that's
Well,
it. It's
yeah,
just
but some people have come to believe that thumbs up is patronizing. Good job.
okay. If I'm using in my email,
Then it means that I agree. I'm
means
happy with the statement.
yeah. But I'm happy with my statement. I want you to be happy for me too. So thumbs up. Yeah. If you find it patronizing, that's a you issue. You need to process that and get on with that. But it is really helpful. So for instance, if I've got a question, I put the red emoji question mark because it just helps. Now you know I'm asking you a question. And so if you're scanning my email very quickly, you can find that information. And that's also really helpful for note taking. So the same as I have a color code, I have a code for things that will alert me to what's in the text. So for instance, my light bulb is an idea. My star is key information. So yeah, it really helps find the information I need very quickly.
And if you're not a fan of emojis, colors and boldness.
Yes.
I need you to be here at this time and date. Bold it and read it.
Yes. in fact, when you're writing an email, if it is a key date, write it like an invitation. So that's centered and broken down so you can see the time, the date, the address, and it's all in bold and it's very clear and it stands out. Yeah.
And bolding isn't shouting; it's just saying, "Hey, look at me because I'm bold."
It's a really good graphic design tip that I picked up when I was doing typography. And don't bold everything. That's just rude.
Because then it just gets lost.
Yeah. And don't capitalize everything either. That's really hard to read.
Maybe. I know some dyslexic folk that prefer. There was a name for it.
Yeah, reading in capitals, yeah, and writing in capitals.
And then when I was doing engineering, we would always write in caps because
interesting.
Because it's easier to pass information. That there's less handwriting nuance between caps and standard handwriting.
Yeah.
So if you write in, it begins with a C. It's gone. And then I was watching something about the display boards on like buses and trams and trains.
Yeah.
They want to move to away from the dot matrix to a proper screen, because loads of people struggle to read the shape of a letter when it's formed of a series of dots rather than actually just the letter. So sometimes people write in caps and they're not shouting. So
no, absolutely.
Again, another new problem to fix.
And also, if you are going to write in caps, just say I write in caps because this is easier. So on the bottom of my emails for a long time, I'd sign it written with dyslexic friendly spelling. In other words, I don't know how to spell anything. It's fine. Like, you work it out. Like, it's not randomly spelled. You know what I mean? Like, the amount of times I've had emails come back and said, what do you mean? You know what I mean. Doesn't matter whether it's a witch spelt like a witch's hat or which county. You understand what I mean. So this isn't me being lazy. This is me being dyslexic.
And that's why I didn't score very high in my English SATs in year 9, because I got into the free-handed shorthand of using like numbers instead of words. So 4 was 4. And then you get marked down because
they don't appreciate it because it's not standardized.
Because me writing 1 character is quicker than writing 3. But then being in surveying, construction, engineering, the amount of how much effort you then have to go into precise speech. So for the reason of had to be FOR, but then numbers of were then the digit followed by NO dot. So then it is 4 number, and everybody knows it's 4 number because it's 4 number. But
that's like IT. You have all these little nuances. It's, you need to learn this terminology. But also I find that a lot of places and work places with specific, like if you're doing construction, their terminology is really simple and they don't overwrite, so it's fine. So you're using these terms and you do have to learn them. And we really, like, when I've been training people, we really do encourage that. We create terminology lists and stuff like that for people to learn how to spell, that kind of thing, because as you say, accuracy is really important. But this doesn't need to be a barrier, because actually you're not having to write huge numbers of sentences, volumes, reports with all this information in. It's going to be repetitive. You're going to be using this on a daily and a weekly basis.
I recently texted a friend of mine, and it was like, look, I need so many of these different things. And basically it was the number and the size. So it was like 330 millimeter, 440 millimeter, da 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 da. And he was like, can you just send that again? Because I have no idea what I'm looking at. And I was like, 3x space instead of 330, 440, 660. And everyone was like, what? And I was like, well, I don't want 60 times by 6 millimeters, do I? Because that would be weird. I need 60 millimeter.
Yeah.
Yeah, using X instead of times because the X looks like a times, like
Yeah,
you write
exactly.
it. And computers, in maths, you don't write an asterisk, you write an X. So
Yeah.
can we stop putting asterisks in these because Unicode want to use asterisks as multiple. Anyway, that's not. Well, brilliant. We've had a lovely hour and 20 something minutes.
Yeah, lovely, Richard.
Are you happy to call it there, or is there more in your bucket that you'd like to share?
I'm empty right now. I'm sure
Okay.
there is more, Richard, and I might email you at some point and let you know. But yeah, no, really happy with that. Well, there's also we have a free webinar on the Dyslexia London website that I can send you the information from. If you drop me an email, I'll send you the. I'd love people to get nominated for the Dyslexia Awards as well. If you're doing amazing work like Richard and myself, please get someone to nominate you. It's an amazing evening. Elizabeth is the person who's created them, is just a powerhouse. She's phenomenal, and she creates an evening that is so memorable. You'll love it. You'll love it. Even if you don't win, you'll just love it because you're in a room full of dyslexic people. Who knew I was going to go and win 2 awards? I was just so overwhelmed and couldn't quite believe it. But yeah, really nominate people because we need to know the amazing people out there doing this work like yourself, Richard, and it's just fantastic to speak with you.
Well, thanks very much for coming on, and enjoy your daylight bulb some more.
Thanks.
And go for your walk because you said that you were
absolutely. I'm going to take a little break, go for a little walk.
Fantastic, brilliant. Well, thanks very much for coming on.
Thanks, Richard. Take care.